Imagine if the most dangerous thing in your life right now is your comfortable chair. We live in the safest, warmest, and most abundant era in human history. Yet, we are more depressed, more anxious, and physically weaker than ever before. Why? This book argues that comfort itself is the silent killer. Prepare to have your view of your cozy life completely shattered. Author Michael Easter identifies the root cause of our modern malaise as the comfort crisis. To prove his theory, he didn't just sit in a library reading papers. He threw himself into the ultimate test of discomfort. He embarked on a 33-day hunting expedition into the frozen backcountry of Alaska, completely cut off from civilization. There, amidst sub-zero temperatures, intense hunger, and the constant threat of grizzly bears, he discovered a paradoxical truth. In the most uncomfortable conditions, he felt more alive than ever. One of the book's core concepts is misogi. Borrowed from an ancient Japanese purification ritual, Easter redefines it for the modern world as a defining challenge. The rule is simple. Once a year, do something so hard that you have a 50% chance of failure. Easter argues that we have become too good at avoiding struggle. We seek immediate relief at the slightest hint of discomfort. But as he puts it, pushing past your limits doesn't just make you tougher. It reveals the strength that was already there, dormant under layers of modern softness. The book also explores the lost art of boredom. In today's world, we can't even wait 15 seconds for an elevator without pulling out our smartphones. We have murdered boredom. But neurologically, boredom is the fertilizer for creativity. When the brain lacks external stimulation, it turns inward, resting and generating new ideas. Easter warns that our constant diet of digital dopamine is breaking our brains, and he advocates for the intentional practice of doing absolutely nothing. Then there is the topic of hunger. Most of us have never felt true physiological hunger. We eat because we are bored, stressed, or simply because the clock says it's noon. Easter presents compelling scientific evidence that occasional hunger, through intermittent fasting, cleanses our cells, boosts immunity, and sharpens our minds. Carrying hundreds of pounds of caribou meat across the tundra while starving taught him that food is not just entertainment, it is sacred fuel. Finally, the book asks us to contemplate death. Modern society hides death away in hospitals, encouraging us to live as if we are immortal. But by adopting the mindset of the Bhutanese people, who think about death multiple times a day, we can strip away trivial worries and focus on what truly matters. The message is clear. You can either slowly decay in comfort or embrace discomfort to truly live. This is not just a book about suffering for the sake of suffering. It is a scientific and adventurous roadmap to reclaiming your primal health and happiness. If you feel stuck, lethargic, or unfulfilled, it's not your fault. It's your environment. It is time to step out of your comfort zone and reclaim your wild self. We have just scratched the surface of how comfort is secretly sabotaging our potential. Now let's dive deeper with NotebookLM to analyze the specific scientific studies Easter cites and break down how you can design your own Misogi challenge starting today.
Hey, welcome to The Explainer, where we get into some really big ideas. Today, we're going to tackle a fascinating book by Michael Easter called The Comfort Crisis. So let's just jump right in with a really provocative question, one that's at the very core of this book. What if all this comfort, all this convenience we have, what if it's the very thing holding us back from being truly happy? And that question, it leads us straight into the big problem that Easter points out. He calls it our modern paradox. Okay, so what is this comfort paradox exactly? Well, it's this kind of wild idea that our natural evolutionary drive to make life easier and safer has actually, backfired on us. In our mission to get rid of every little problem, every hardship, we've accidentally created this whole new class of problems for our minds and our bodies. And living this super easy life, it has some serious downsides. We get complacent, our resilience, our ability to bounce back when things get tough, it just kind of withers away. And maybe worst of all, we get stuck in this loop called hedonic adaptation. You've probably felt this. It's when you get that new thing you wanted, and it's great for a minute, but then it just becomes normal. It doesn't make you happy anymore, and you're already looking for the next thing. So according to Easter, we're basically trapped. We're living in this world that's just too easy. And to figure out how to get out of this trap, he did something pretty incredible. He didn't just sit in a library and research it. No, he went out and lived it. He took his own theory to the absolute limit. Yeah, he took on this extreme test. He went to one of the most brutal environments on the entire planet, all to see for himself what the benefits of real discomfort could be. And he did it for 33 straight days, pushing himself way, way past what most of us would ever consider possible. So what was this insane challenge? A caribou hunt, deep, deep in the Alaskan Arctic. And look, we're not talking about some weekend camping trip here. This was the real deal, genuine hardship. We're talking white out cold, a kind of hunger that gnaws at you. And something else, something our modern world has almost completely gotten rid of, profound, absolute boredom. Okay, so you have to be asking, right? Why in the world would anyone put themselves through that? Well, the answer is, it's pretty incredible, actually. And it all comes down to how challenges like this can literally, physically change your brain. And this is possible because of something called neuroplasticity. It's a fancy word, but the idea is simple. Your brain isn't fixed. It's not a rock. It's more like plastic or a muscle. It can be reshaped and rewired your whole life. And the best way to do that? By facing new and difficult things. And this right here shows the difference perfectly. Think about it. When life is easy and routine, your brain just goes on autopilot, right? It uses the same old, well-worn paths. But when you introduce some voluntary discomfort, it's like a workout for your brain. It's forced to build new roads, new connections. And that's what strengthens it and makes you more resilient. And this isn't just some abstract theory either. There's a really famous study of London taxi drivers. I mean, these guys have to memorize thousands of streets. It's an insane mental challenge. And what did they find? The part of their brain responsible for memory, the hippocampus, was literally bigger. It grew. It's just a perfect real-world example of how discomfort leads to actual measurable growth. So, Easter's crazy trip to the Arctic, it was basically an extreme version of this ancient practice that he thinks we can all learn a ton from. And it's called a misogi. All right, so what in the world is a misogi? The best way to think about it is like a modern-day rite of passage. The idea is you take on one huge, daunting challenge every year. And the key thing is it's not about getting bragging rights or a cool Instagram post. It's about fundamentally changing what you believe you're capable of. And the framework for it is so simple, it's beautiful. There are 2 rules you have to follow and 2 guidelines you really should follow. Now, the most important rule of all is that first one. It has to be truly hard. Like, you should honestly have only about a 50-50 shot at succeeding. And almost as important is that second guideline. You don't brag about it, you don't post about it. This is for you and you alone. It's a personal journey, not a performance. Okay, so look, you don't have to pack your bags for the Arctic to get the benefits here. Not at all. The whole point is to start strategically adding these little beneficial doses of discomfort into your regular life. So how do you actually start? Well, the good news is you can start small. You could try something called rucking, which is really just walking with some weight in a backpack. It's something humans have done forever, and the benefits are massive. Or you could do something as simple as taking a 30-second cold shower. I know, it sounds awful, right? But each of these little things acts like a tiny jolt to your system. It knocks your brain off autopilot, and that right there is neuroplasticity in action. You're building those new pathways, and you're proving to yourself little by little that you can absolutely handle being uncomfortable. So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway from all of this. Real, meaningful growth, it doesn't happen when you're comfortable. It happens right at the edge of your comfort zone. And by choosing to embrace these small, deliberate challenges, you're doing more than just making yourself tougher. You're actually training yourself, your mind and your body, for when life throws you one of those big, unexpected challenges that you didn't choose. So I want to leave you with one final question to chew on. What would be your 50-50 challenge? What's one hard thing that you could try where you genuinely might fail? Because the answer to that question, well, that might just be where you discover what you're really made of.